I haven't actually seen that series. It just seemed too punny to pass up. Hi, I am Mickey Clements, and I used to make stuff like this. Today, as in several recent videos, I am using a material that I've never used before. This time that material being styrene plastic. It's essentially just a sheet of plastic. It comes in various sizes and thicknesses, and you can find it in other colors, but the most common seems to be white, so you just paint it once you've made whatever you make with it. But the great thing about it is that it will stick to itself really well, using specialized plastic glue, or a solvent rather. As I understand it, I think it actually melts the pieces slightly, so it actually bonds to itself instead of just gluing, so it makes a really great connection, which is why it's widely used in the cosplay community for making things like props. But today I'm going to be using it to make a new marquee. This is a marquee that I made for the Birds of Prey sign that I made for the Michigan Renaissance Festival, which my wife works at, for the Birds of Prey show. And this was a marquee to let people know the showtimes when they were doing their shows. And I made it out of hardboard, really basically just glorified cardboard. I knew that wasn't the best material, especially since this sign was going to be outside, but I was kind of hoping that the paint would protect it, which it did. I mean, this thing held up for about 2 months outside in all the elements, but eventually it did succumb and it started to deteriorate and fall apart. So I'm going to make a new one out of plastic, which should hold up forever. I'm going to just be following the same idea, just 2 slots that I can fit. I also custom made number pieces into. I cut these out on my brother Scan and Cut. These are actually just waterproof label sheets. This was before I discovered the wonders of vinyl, which would have worked great for this, but these came out good as well, and these held up all season 2. So I'm just going to pretty much follow the same design, except making it out of styrene plastic instead of pressboard or MDF. Now I've already cut a sheet to the same size as the old marquee, except as you can see it's a very thin sheet, and instead of trying to find or purchasing a much thicker sheet, which would be quite a bit more expensive, I'm hopefully just going to glue it to a board cut to the same size, giving me the thickness and rigidity that I'm going for. And to glue it, I'm hopefully going to use some high-strength 3M90 spray adhesive. I think it'll stick to this stuff pretty well. If not, we'll deal with that and find another solution. But right now, let's just head outside and spray some adhesive. Alright, so that seemed to work out really well. I think that Super 90 3M worked great. I think it bonded to the styrene really, really well. It seems to be on there extremely well. So 3M 90 will definitely adhere styrene to something else. So I'm just going to try and clean up some of the overspray with some goof off. Okay, and there's just a little bit of overhang on this one end. I'm just going to try and clean that off. Now there's many ways to cut this stuff. It cuts great with a utility blade, as you saw. You can cut it with scissors when it's thin enough. I went ahead and cut it with an electric hydraulic press because I could and because it gives me extremely straight pieces. Now that's definitely overkill for this, but it was very efficient and it gave me very uniform pieces. Of course, you can often find pre-cut pieces like this that will be very close, if not the size you need. So that's definitely another option as well. Okay, so this larger one is my center bar. Two of these are my top and bottom bar. Now the glue solvent that I got comes with a brush tip. Most every time that I've seen someone use this stuff, they're using it from a bottle like this with a needle tip on it. So I'll probably give both a try and just see what works best for what I'm doing here. It probably wouldn't be the worst idea just to glue a test piece together, seeing as I've never used this stuff before. Alright, so it definitely starts to bond immediately, but it's not a permanent bond, so you can definitely still move it around. And yeah, it definitely does appear to be melting the two plastics together. I wonder if I'd want some clamps. Yeah, I guess we'll just brush this on. Certainly seems to be sticking well, maybe. I think this stuff dries super quickly. Okay, yeah. So maybe, yeah, let's try. The other thing I'm not sure about is if this solvent will affect this bottle in any way. So I'm not gonna put very much in there, assuming I can get in any without a, I think I have a tiny funnel. Perfect tiny funnel. Oh, just perfect. It doesn't seem to be doing anything to the bottle, so that's good. And now let's try. Oh. Okay, that's. I don't think the bottle's the right thing for this. Maybe here, maybe here in the middle, or I just need. Jeez, it is like you don't even have to. You don't press. It just comes out. Sure, it's just maybe the bottle I've chosen. Alright, that does seem bonded pretty well, so we're learning quite a bit. The next piece, I'm going to go back to the brush applicator. I think maybe I'll brush on 1/4. And then lift it up and brush some more on. Okay, that seemed to be quite a bit more precise and controlled. Alright, so that works. Now to glue on the center rail, I really do not want to give much, if any, play in this. I'm going to make it pretty tight, because I really just don't want these moving around that much. So I am finding it challenging to get control with the glue, or as much control as I would like, but since I will be painting it and I'm already sanding it, I can fix most of those problems. And I am really taking my time. I really do want this to look nice and be as good as I can possibly make it. Even though it's my first time working with any of this, I'm really trying hard to master it immediately too. I am enjoying it. It's very, overall it is very easy to make it do what you want. I'm going to stop just for a second. Is doing all this worth it when I could just buy one of these for like 10 bucks, maybe 20 bucks, and just either just use the whole thing or just pop off the front and use that? I think so. I mean, I'm essentially making the exact same thing. They look almost identical even at this point. But this one I can make the exact size I need. There's enough space for up to 4 time slots. So it's much more customizable this way, and then I wouldn't have to cut this one down to only 2 lines or use all 3 lines. So yeah, I think making a custom one to my exact needs is a better way to go. And the materials were definitely cheaper than buying one of these. So again, I'm only paying for this really with my time, but I'm also learning a new skill. So I think making this versus just buying one of these is absolutely a valid way to go. And why do I think that? I don't know. Also, these are quite loose. They slide right out. And so since this thing's gonna be outside in the wind and the rain, this wouldn't work that well, at least as it is. So with this one, I'm either gonna see if they're tight enough as they is, that's why I was leaving very little to no play in there. Otherwise, I'm gonna make some end caps, like this old one previously had. These end caps just kind of snapped on and they kept everything in place. So we'll see what I have to do about that. Also, the kit wouldn't have come with enough numbers for what we wanted to do, so I would have had to have made my own numbers anyway, which is fine because I wanted it in the Birds of Prey font that I used for the sign. Also, to even write positive mental attitude, I didn't have enough T's, so I had to improvise and made a T out of two L's. So it's positive mental. Okay, moving on. The center piece. Let's try to bottle it again. All right, so they can slide all the way across. They're definitely in there better than the store-bought one. And I can always fix any weird errors with some sandpaper, or I'm assuming I can. All right, moving on. Let's do the top row or the bottom row. So I gave myself some room on the overall size for this for play. And so I have a little bit of extra space. I'm deciding whether I want to just move this down. I think I'll just line it up, and I think I'll just buzz that off on the table saw, potentially destroying the whole thing. Let's try this method again. And that time it poured out a nice line. And thankfully the plastic solution isn't really affecting this transparency. It's actually a clear plastic box. It's pretty thick stuff. I do actually like the amount of working time you get. It's a very quick bond, but you do have enough time to reposition and move stuff around. This is nice. This is cool. I also thought about 3D printing this. I think this would have been hard to do in 3D printing. I don't know why I thought that would have... Well, I guess I thought you could print these things separately and then glue them on. I think you can get a much cleaner thing just building it from scratch this way. So I don't know if 3D printing would have been the best solution for this. I think this is the best solution. This is gonna work really well. I guess while it's drying, I guess I'm gonna rip the edge off here, square those edges up, and then rip off the excess here on the table saw, sand that a bit, and then we'll try painting it. Alright, so that survived the chop saw and the table saw pretty well. I had one little bit where it popped off, but that just means that it wasn't glued well enough and it would have broken later down the line, so I could just fix it now instead. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, just looking at the edge there, just how clean and precise those slots are. Like, that is really nice for handmade work. Like, that looks so good. Like, that's exactly what I needed to, I mean, this whole thing. Look how cool that looks. That looks exactly like the store-bought one. So I do still think I should put some sort of cover on the end. Let's see how well this cuts on a guillotine. Cuts like a good thing that cuts. Okay. So this is 0.04 inch styrene plastic. So it is cutting perfectly well on a guillotine. So that's just another way you can cut something at least this thin. I think just something like this. I still had time to move it. That's so great. I'm kind of starting to get the hang of this bottle. Basically just pour. No squeezing involved. Yeah, it's surprisingly way more rigid with just one extra piece. It actually snaps really well too. So like even just scoring it and then snapping it, so you don't even have to cut it all the way through. Oh, those end caps work really nice. Holy cow, that's such a perfect fit. Okay, I think this is ready for paint. This looks so cool. This thing looks awesome. It seemed to have taken the paint great. It looks so good. Does it still work? Yes. It's scuffing, but it's not coming off. So that's okay. Oh, those look so good. Holy cow, this looks so good. I painted it darker than the original and with a darker shade, just so it stands out even more. So the numbers will just really pop. All right, so there's one final step. We need a way to attach it to the sign. And to do that, I'm going to use, once again, the keyhole fasteners. Believe it or not, I have a 17-minute video on just these things. How is that possible? But unlike in that video, where I just attached them directly to the back of the thing I was hanging, I'm going to try and inset these just slightly. This thing came out so good. I cannot believe it. Styrene is awesome. It is so precise. It was really easy to make. I can't wait to do more projects with it. This whole thing just came out so good. These end caps, these work so well. And then they go flush. They turn almost invisible. It's just so great. I cannot wait to get this on the actual sign. And I mean, over the version 1, there's just no comparison. I mean, of course, this one's been out in the weather for 2 months, but I suspect this one will not look that much different after being exposed to the elements, because it's plastic. All right, well, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to hang it on the sign up at the Renaissance Festival in Holly. Right there has a lock. All right, well, I am extremely pleased with how this came out. It looks so good. It's so vibrant. You can read it from really far away. It really stands out. And I mean, this thing is so well made now. It's probably going to be the last thing to fall apart, if ever. I mean, the whole sign's deteriorated. You'll probably still know what time the shows are. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. Styrene is so cool to work with. I can't wait to do more projects with it. So my sincere thank you for watching. Once again, I am Nick D. Clements. If you're wondering, Nick is short for Nicholas, and the D stands for Danny. Anyway, I'm off to make something else.